Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're diving into part 3 of the stylized mushroom house series. This time I'll take you through the texturing process using Substance 3D Painter. We'll add some fun colors, materials, and surface details to bring the model to life. If you're curious about how to texture a stylized asset or just want to follow along and pick up some tips, you're in the right place. Let's jump in and get started. If you are new to this channel, I post 3D tutorials here on a weekly basis. And if that's your sort of thing, please consider subscribing. So here we are in Substance Painter. Let's go ahead and import our model into the scene so we can start working on the textures. While exporting the model from Maya, I assigned 2 different materials, one for the ground and another for the mushroom house. This helps keep things organized and makes texturing a lot easier here in Substance Painter. Alright, now I'll head over to the Texture Set Settings tab, scroll down and click on Bake Mesh Maps. From there, I'll set the output size to 2048, turn off the ID map since we won't need it right now, and then hit Bake to generate the maps. I will turn off the ground layer from the texture set list so we can focus just on the mushroom house for now. Now then I will go ahead and delete the default layer which we have. And let's start with the bottom part of the roof. From the shelf I'll head over to the Materials tab and I'm going to grab the Leather Big Grain material. Just drag and drop it into the Layers panel to get started. Now I only want this material to show up on the bottom part of the roof. So I'll create a new folder, drop the material into it, then right-click on the folder and choose Add Black Mask to hide it everywhere for now. Next I'll grab the Polygon Fill tool, turn on UV Chunk Fill, and make sure the color is set to white. Then I'll just click on the bottom part of the roof to reveal the material only on that section. Now let's select the leather layer, then I'll hop into the Properties Fill panel and bump up the scale quite a bit. Then I'll switch the color to white and dial up the roughness to tone down the shine. Next, inside that same folder, I'm going to add a fill layer on top. In the Properties Fill panel, I'll turn off the color and metal channels, then bump up the height value to 1, and slightly increase the roughness to give it a bit more texture. After that, I'll right-click on the fill layer and add a black mask. Then I'll right-click on the black mask itself and choose Add Paint. This will let me manually paint in the height details wherever I want. Now from the Shelf tab I'll switch to the Brushes section and pick one of the rough brushes. This one looks good, but before I start painting I'll jump into the fill layer settings and bring the height value down to 0. That way, when we paint on the mask, it gives a nice indented or carved effect. I'll adjust the brush size by holding Ctrl and dragging with the right mouse button. Super handy for quickly scaling the brush to fit the details I'm working on. Now I'll switch to the 3D/2D split view. This makes it easier to paint accurately by letting me see both the model and the flat UV layout side by side. After that, I'll start drawing some random stripe patterns following the circular shape, like this. Then, to clean things up, I'll switch the grayscale color to black and erase any areas that don't look quite right. Once I'm happy with the rough block out of the patterns, I'll right-click on the paint layer and choose Add Filter on top of it. Then I'll click on the Filter tab and search for Blur. Select the first one that shows up and tweak the blur intensity to soften out the rough edges of the patterns. Next, I'll select this fill layer and add another fill layer right on top of it. This time I'll change the color to black, adjust the height and roughness values a bit to get the look I want, and turn off the metal channel since we don't need it for this layer. Now I'll right-click on the fill layer and add a black mask. Then from the Brushes tab I'll pick this Dots brush. After that I'll right-click on the black mask and choose Add Paint. Now I can just start brushing over the area to cover it up with small random dots. Next I'll select the paint layer, right-click on it and choose Add Filter. Then I'll click on the Filter tab, search for Bevel and apply it. Once it's added, I'll tweak the settings to get the look I want. Alright, now let's move on to texturing the top part of the roof. I'll head over to the Materials tab in the shelf, and since we're done with the previous section, I'll go ahead and collapse that folder to keep things tidy. Then I'll select Plastic Grid Small from the Materials and drag it right on top of this new section to get started. Now let's create a new folder for this material. I'll drop the material inside the folder, then right-click on the folder and choose Add Black Mask. After that, using the Polygon Fill tool, I'll select only those parts of the model where I want this material to show up. Now I'll select the material and start tweaking some of the settings in the Properties Fill tab to get the look I want. Just making a few adjustments here to match the style of the model. After that, I'll add a fill layer on top of this material. Then, in the Properties Fill tab, I'll turn off the roughness and metallic channels, set the color to a deep red, and bump up the height value a bit for now. Now I'll right-click on this fill layer and add a black mask. Then I'll right-click on the mask again and choose Add Fill. After that, I'll click on the grayscale input slot, search for Grunge Roughcast, then select it to drive the texture pattern. Next, I will change the projection type to triplanar projection. This allows me to use the gizmo to move and position the texture more freely until I get the look I want. Now this texture is looking a bit too bumpy, so I'll head into the material settings and dial down the height value to soften that effect. This is looking good so far. Now let's move on to texturing the body of the house. I will collapse this folder and turn off the visibility of these two folders for now, so we can focus just on the body. From the shelf, I'll head over to the Smart Materials tab. Here, I'll pick the Wood Beech vein material and simply drag and drop it right on top of the two folders we created earlier. Now I'll create a new folder above the material layer, right-click on it, and choose Add Black Mask. Then I'll drop the Wood Beech veined material inside this folder. Then using the Polygon Fill tool, I'll select just the body of the house so the material gets applied only to that area. Next, I'll jump into this material folder and go through each layer one by one and changing their colors to white. I'll leave the rest of the settings as it is since everything else is looking pretty good to me by default. Alright, now let's tweak the texture on top of this material to give it a more stylized look. We'll add some custom layers, adjust a few properties, and play around with the height and roughness to bring in that extra bit of character. Let's head over to the Materials tab and grab the plastic grid small material. I'll drop it on top of the layer, change the color to white, and then adjust the settings a bit to soften the effect and blend it in nicely. Next, I will add a new fill layer on top of everything. Set the color to an almost white tone. I'll turn off the metal and roughness channels and just slightly bump up the height value to give it a bit of surface detail. Now I will right-click on this fill layer and add a black mask. Then I'll right-click on the mask again and choose Add Fill. After that, I'll click on the grayscale slot and pick Grunge Roughcast from the list. Now I want to apply the same texture to the chimney as well. So I'll select the black mask on the folder, switch to the Polygon Fill tool, and then just click on the chimney to add it to the selection. It'll automatically get the same material applied. Next, I will add another fill layer on top and turn off all the channels except normal and height. Let's keep the height value to 1 for now. Then I'll right-click on the fill layer and add a black mask. After that, I'll right-click on the mask again, choose Add Fill, click on the grayscale slot, search for Crystal 2, and apply it to give some extra surface detail. Now I will switch the projection mode to triplanar projection, so the texture wraps more evenly around the surface. Then I'll scroll down to the noise parameters section and crank up the scale value quite a bit to get more detail in the surface texture. Now the texture is looking a bit too noisy and sharp. So to tone it down, I will select the Add Fill layer, right-click on it, and choose Add Filter. Then I'll click on the filter slot, search for blur, and apply it. After that, I will adjust the blur intensity to smooth out the surface details and get a cleaner look. These are turning out pretty good so far. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you're enjoying the video, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps out and motivates me to keep creating more awesome content for you all. Alright, now let's move on to texturing the door. I will start by creating a new folder on top of the layers. Then from the Materials tab in the shelf, I'll pick the Wood American Cherry material and drop it right into that folder. Next, I will right-click on the folder and choose Add Black Mask. Then I will switch over to the Polygon Fill tool, open up the 3D 2D view, and start selecting all the parts of the doors and the window frames from here. Now I will select the material layer and rotate it 90 degrees in the Properties panel to straighten it out. Then I will change the color to red. Switch the projection to triplanar, and use the gizmo to adjust the texture's position until it looks just right. Now for the stairs, I will use the same texture we created for the house body. I'll just select that layer, press Ctrl+C to copy it, then Ctrl+V to paste it right on top of the layer. Then I will right-click on the layer and choose Add Black Mask. After that, using the Polygon Fill tool, I'll go ahead and select the stairs to apply the texture just to that area. Now I will delete the wood material from this folder, and then make a few tweaks to the remaining layers to get the look just right. After making the adjustments, I will select the black mask, and then using the polygon fill tool, I will click on the windowsills to apply the same texture to them as well. For the doorknob, I'm going to use the nickel pure material and drop it inside the door folder. Then I will select the black mask of the folder and use the polygon fill tool to include the doorknob. After that, I will add a black mask directly to the nickel material itself, and again use the polygon fill tool to isolate just the doorknob. Once that's done, I'll tweak the settings in the Properties Fill panel to get the look I want. Now let's texture the dots on the rooftop. I will start by adding a new folder on top, then right-click on it and add a black mask. After that, I will switch to the 2D/3D view so it's easier to work with, and using the polygon fill tool, I will select all these dots to isolate them for texturing. Next, I will grab the leather big grain material and drop it into the folder. This helps make the selection more visible. And if you accidentally select any parts you don't want, you can simply switch the color to black and select those areas with the polygon fill tool to deselect them. After that, I'll go ahead and tweak some of the material settings to better match the look I'm going for. And finally, let's texture the window glass. I'll add a new fill layer on top and turn off all the channels except the color channel. Then I'll set the color to a nice warm yellowish orange tone to give it that cozy glow. Next, I will create a folder on top and drop the fill layer inside it. Then I will add a black mask to the folder, and using the polygon fill tool, I'll select only the window glasses so the color is applied just where it's needed. Now for these window glasses, I want to give them a nice glowing effect so it feels like light is shining through from the inside. To do that, we'll need to add an emissive channel to our texture set. Let's go ahead and set that up. Let's head over to the texture set settings, and under the channels section, click the plus icon and choose emissive. That'll add a new emissive channel to our texture set. Next, I will go to the Properties Fill panel, turn on the emissive channel, and then pick the same color we used earlier for the glass. I'll make this emissive color slightly darker to keep it subtle and not too overpowering. To get a clearer look at the emissive effect, it's best to check it in the render view. That way you'll see how it really glows and blends with the rest of the scene. Then you can go back and tweak the settings to get the look you want. And that wraps up the texturing process for our stylized mushroom house. I hope you enjoyed the video and picked up a few useful tips along the way. Alright folks, that brings us to the end of our 3-part series on creating the stylized mushroom house. I hope you had a great time watching and learned something new along the way. If you enjoyed the series and want to see more awesome content like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button and tap the bell icon so you never miss an update. And if you've got any questions or feedback, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you and help out. Thanks for sticking around, and I'll see you in the next one.